I'm down. I'm always up for just lambasting Seagal's complete idiocy. All right, I am down. So, chat, let us hear from 10 actors who fucking hate Seagal, likely with good reason. Yeah, Pig, where he's his fucking like limp-wristed, arm floppy run where it's like he's trying to swim while he's running. Because like that is, if anybody's ever seen Steven Seagal run, when he runs, he acts like he's trying to doggy paddle while he runs. It is the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen. It is hilarious. I wonder if he's gonna do that in this. Let's check it out.
He pitched a rape sketch on live TV, called Liam Neeson a fake fighter, and got banned from Saturday Night Live for being too unbearable to work with. Steven Segal pissed off so many people, it's a miracle he still finds work.
God, the bad AI voice is back.
These 10 actors didn't just dislike...
Hold it. I forgot this channel is the bad AI voice over narrator. Do we want to risk it, chat? Do we want, fuck it. We'll risk it because I make my own fucking narration. So, fuck it, we ball.
Like Seagal. Some wanted to see him die on camera, literally. Brian Cox doesn't exactly hold back when he talks about Seagal. The two worked together on The Glimmer Man, and Cox made it very clear he thought Seagal was out of his mind. Not just difficult to work with, actively delusional. Seagal behaved like a diva on set, even refused to do offlines during scenes. For anyone who doesn't know, offlines are when your co-star feeds you lines while the camera's on you. Pretty basic stuff. Most actors do it. It's part of the job, but not Seagal. On The Glimmer Man, the director actually pulled Cox aside and said, "The continuity person will be doing your offlines. Steven won't do them. Steven doesn't do offlines." Cox later wrote in his memoir that Seagal was exactly as ridiculous in real life as he appears on screen. He radiates a studied serenity, as though he's on a higher plane to the rest of us. And while he's certainly on a different plane, no doubt about that, it's probably not a higher one.
So it's very obvious that Steven Seagal does not do ADR. If you've watched any of his movies from probably, effectively speaking, a couple years post Under Siege 2, he does not do ADR. And for those who don't know what ADR is like when when a line is delivered during filming and during the editing process, it's like, okay, the voice didn't come through quite clearly, or we had some background sounds, so we need the actor to come in to a studio, like to a voiceover studio, and have them read the line again, and they basically kind of like dub their re-spoken line over the scene. And I'm not automated dialogue removal, gray matter. I don't think that's the maybe it is. I can't remember what the abbreviation stands for, but it's basically voiceover work. You're doing voiceover because when you spoke the line during filming, it didn't come through quite properly, and they see it in editing, so they have the actor come in to a sound booth and they have them recite the line in a controlled sound booth, and then they lay that clean sound over the original. Steven Seagal refuses to do refuses to do ADR. That's why in his latter videos, basically post Under Siege 2, maybe a few years after that, all ADR, audio dialogue replacement, that sounds about right, Grindhouse. All of Steven Seagal's quote-unquote ADR is not his voice. He will not do fucking ADR. So they have basically a Steven Seagal quote-unquote look-alike or sound-alike doing the ADR for Steven Seagal in so many of his fucking movies. Like, so many of his lines, because Not only that, he fucking mumbles. He talks like this when he does a lot of his work. It's pretty much all the time and time. He fucking mumbles 3/4 of his lines, so they need to ADR so many of them in some of his films. But it's not actually him ADR. He refuses to ADR. So they just get someone else coming in and doing the ADR, and it sounds nothing like him. So you'll hear Steven Seagal one line will be, okay, it's Steven Seagal talking. That next line is a completely different person talking. Like, holy fuck, it's bad. So not doing the offset, voice cueing like this does not surprise me. He just basically wants to go on there, mumbles fucking lines, and go pound a dozen donuts over at Craft Services. Yeah, exactly, Silver. That's why that line in Cyberpunk where you're getting the scalpel, the guy, the voice actor, like you hear him talking, and then literally halfway through his line, the voice changes. And that's why I went, holy fuck, was that Steven Seagal's ADR? But of course, yes, Alex, of course, boxes. How could I made that mistake? Of course, boxes, dozens of donuts.
Seagal suffers from that Donald Trump syndrome of thinking himself far more capable and talented than he actually is, seemingly oblivious to the fact that an army of people are helping to prop up his delusion.
When was this quote recorded? I really want to know when Brian Cox said this. If this was said back in like the early aughts for the early 2010s, yes, yeah. I don't think Glimmerman came out in 2016.
Now, Sharon Stone didn't even need to trash Seagal directly. She just dismissed him. That's how little time she has for the guy. They worked together on Above the Law, which was Seagal's debut. It wasn't by no means Seagal's best work, but it still turned out to be somewhat decent, especially since it was his first time testing the waters of Hollywood. For his co-star, though, it might as well have been one of her worst experiences.
I forgot Sharon Stone was in Above the Law. Oh my god, I forgot about this. She played his wife in, oh my fucking, the only female co-star I remember from this early period of time was Kelly LeBrock. That's the only, like in the early the early days of Steven Seagal, the only female co-star of note that I remembered was Kelly LeBrock in Hard to Kill. I completely forgot that she was his wife in Above the Law. Granted, it's been a while since I've seen that movie, so it's not all that surprising, and it's not like she had a big role in it, but holy fuck.
Ever. When someone asked her about him years later, Stone said he was an individual who isn't worth the ink it would take to write about him. But she did share one story that kind of says it all. While they were rehearsing a scene, Seagal told her not to stand too close because she was standing in his chi. Supposedly, her presence was throwing off his energy or whatever. Completely ridiculous, but also exactly what you'd expect.
He was pulling this woo-woo Tai Chi master bullshit all the way back during fucking Above the Law? I didn't think he was pulling this spiritual bullshit until he became fat and stupid. I thought this Seagal back then was all about, I'm in the fucking CIA, I can kill a man with my pinky finger. He was doing a spiritual individual bullshit? Really? He's a fucking wine mom that reads the fucking astrology page of a newspaper every day and goes to shops that sell crystals. Oh my fucking hell. Who's next?
A sensei in Aikido and a man who's made money from portraying an adept fighter on screen, Seagal presents himself as something of a tough combatant who can deal with most physical threats. According to Charlize Theron, that's all bullshit. I have no problem talking shit about him because he's not very nice to women. So fuck you. At night, I'll go online to watch fighters or watch people fight, and you always come across that odd Seagal video of him fighting in Japan, but he really isn't.
Yes.
He's just incredibly overweight and pushing people. He's overweight and can barely fight.
Yes.
Look it up. It's ridiculous. He's shoving people by the face. It's a whole setup.
Yes. How many times have I said this? And Charlize Theron would fucking know. She trained extensively how to fight for Atomic Blonde. So she fucking knows. And she has every right to rip into him. Because she actually does know how to fight. She trained her ass off for it. Steven Segal, she's saying exactly what I've been saying. Not that he's a piece of shit to women. That's we've known that. Steven Segal has always been an absolute piece of shit to women. Always. But I've said it before when we watched that other Steven Segal thing where he was like he was basically doing the bullshito, where people would basically just run at him and then literally throw themselves while he basically just would bump them with his hip or something, and they would literally throw themselves. Dwayne, he was not Mystique. Charlize Theron was not Mystique. Wrong actress, gamer. That was Rebecca Romaine was Mystique, not Charlize Theron. I bet she could beat him in a fight. Absolutely. Yes, Seagal is a fucking womanizer. Actually, no. Actually, no. He's not a womanizer. A womanizer implies that he's actually skilled at seducing women and likes to just fuck his way through a whole group of women. He couldn't accomplish. He thinks he's a womanizer. He's Seagal is like Leisure Suit Larry. That is his level of gay. He's fucking Leisure Suit Larry. In that he has none, he's balding, and so he needs a fucking comb over, and he's got a big fucking gut. That is the appropriate comparison. Right fucking there. A womanizer would be, I would characterize a womanizer as someone who, my rough characterization, someone that would basically dates and fucks a lot of women, but also treats them poorly, but he's still slick enough to be able to get women in his bed. So it's a guy who beds. A womanizer is kind of like another word for a man whore, where he'll romance up a woman, but he doesn't actually give a shit about him. And he kind of treats him like shit, so use him and throw him away. That's what I would characterize as a womanizer. The key part there is being that he doesn't care and just throws him away. Zip ties, I'd say one and the same. I'd say womanizer is the old school 80s and 90s phrase and was actually replaced by player. So a womanizer is a player. Yeah, Robus Martin, Quagmire would be fair. That might be a fair assessment.
DMX, rapper, actor, absolute legend. He worked with Seagal not once, but twice. First in Exit Wounds back in 2001, and again in 2019's Beyond the Law. Why he came back for round 2? Probably a paycheck. Because based on how he actually felt about Seagal, there's no other reason this pairing should have happened twice. Here's what DMX had to say about him. Direct quote. Steven Segal is a fuck. He's a fucking shithead. With spray-on hair. He talked like he was an old slave master. This guy's a fucker. He's an asshole.
What?
That's...
Talk like he was an old slave master? So this mustn't... So DMX knew him when he was in his Southern Seagal phase. See, Steven Seagal goes through phases. He goes through the enlightened phase. He goes through the Asian, the Asian purity master Buddhist holy man phase. He goes through his like Southern country boy phase. He goes through his like his South Side thug gangbanger phase. He goes through these different like personality phases because he's a piece of shit and thinks that I don't know his rationale why he goes through these phases, but he does go through these fucking phases. So DMX must have encountered him when he was going through Southern Seagal phase.
That's not a half-baked insult. That's a full-on scorched earth takedown.
Colonel, that's not a phase for Seagal. It's a way of life. Get it right.
And yet, for some reason, nearly 20 years later, they co-starred again in Beyond the Law, a low-budget, straight-to-video crime flick that nobody saw and even fewer remember. John Leguizamo didn't just dislike Seagal. He built a whole career-long grudge out of it. Their big clash happened on executive decision in 1996. On the very first day of rehearsal, Seagal apparently strolled onto set and said, "I'm in command. What I say is law."
What?
Leguizamo thought he was joking. He laughed. Seagal didn't. He taekwondo'd my ass against a brick wall, as Leguizamo put it. Knocked the wind out of him. Couldn't even talk. And it didn't.
Wait, let me read the full quote. He taekwondo'd my ass against a brick wall, knocked all the air out of me. I was like, why? What I really wanted to say is how big and fat he is and how he runs like a girl. But all I could say was why. Well, Revan, apparently they clashed when he just walked on fucking set. No, he was in the movie for all 10 minutes, but he still had to be on set.
Knocked the wind out of him. Couldn't even talk. And it didn't end there. When they were filming Seagal's death scene, Leguizamo showed up just to watch it. Didn't have a scene that day. Just wanted to see him die. That's the level we're dealing with here. Decades later, when Leguizamo played a washed-up action star in The Menu, he based the character on one person, Steven Segal. When asked about it, he said, "He's kind of a horrible human." This man turned his...
Okay, I'm sorry. I've seen The Menu. And if John Leguizamo was basing the character off of Seagal, he was being very kind. Have any of you guys seen The Menu? This characterization, if it's supposed to be Seagal, it is extremely kind to Seagal. Because in The Menu, yeah, he was an asshole, but he wasn't like a real big piece of shit womanizer. He wasn't like acting like he was a big tough guy. So it's possible maybe he had to tone it down. Like maybe he just like went like strictly the ego route, or yeah, it's like maybe he did initially come in and just like go fucking ham with the embodiment of Seagal, and the director told him to tone it down. That certainly might be possible. My guess is he probably like every time he was doing the lines, he's probably feeling like, how would Steven Seagal talk in this scenario? And tried to deliver it that way. I still didn't get a Seagal feel. Like I saw The Menu, a week or two ago. I watched it like a week or two ago. Not once did I think, oh, he's talking like Seagal. I was just thinking, he's just talking like a washed-up fucking actor. Which is kind of John Leguizamo in himself, if I'm gonna be honest, considering how John Leguizamo is constantly bitching about who gets cast in what roles these days. He's a bit washed up himself if we're gonna be legitimate here. Well, yeah, Kaibo, I mean, that was the Call of Vigo and John Wick was good. But again, how long was he in the movie? He was in the movie for 5 minutes.
Seagal hatred into art. Seagal's appearance on Saturday Night Live
here
has
we
been
go.
dubbed the worst ever by fans, creators, writers, and performers of the series alike, with Bob Odenkirk taken aback by his complete and utter apathy.
Whoa.
The future Breaking Bad star was part of the writing staff and repertory at the time, and he recalled that when Seagal...
Wait, what?
Breaking Bad star was part of the writing staff and repertory at the time.
Bob Odenkirk was a writer for SNL? Holy shit! I had no fucking idea! I always thought Bob Odenkirk was an actor. I never knew he was a writer. Holy shit, that's interesting. Oh.
And he recalled that when Seagal was reading over his sketches, the most ludicrous scenario unfolded after he demanded they be changed, so he got to beat up his scene partners. One of the most famous nightmare can't re-show that ever episodes. He kept saying, "I've never seen your show. I don't know what you do here." Now, SNL's had some rough episodes over the years, but everyone pretty much agrees. Seagal's episode in April 1991 was the absolute worst. David Spade said it was the first time he ever heard people at the show talk about ditching the host entirely and just doing a cast-only episode. That's how bad it was.
He didn't want to go along with what the plan was for the week. As a result, I think that was the first week that I heard talk about replacing the host. Just do it to cash out. Okay. Whoa.
Seagal didn't want to play along, didn't want to follow the writer's ideas, and flat out refused to be the butt of any joke. He even pitched his own sketch, where he plays a therapist who hypnotizes a patient and then sexually assaults her. That was his pitch.
Okay, why am I acting shocked by this? Why am I acting shocked by Steven Segal pitching a story where he SAs a woman? I'm shocked. Well, not that shocked. Yeah, because, and he probably wasn't even thinking he was comedy. He's probably just trying to act out one of his fantasies. Yes, Legat, he supposedly, he is a deputy chief, a reserve deputy chief in, Louisiana. Supposedly. Not that I buy it. And, Hakeem, thank you for the follow. It also doesn't surprise me that he said, "I cannot be the butt of any jokes," because it's pretty established that in all of his movies post Under Siege 2, he cannot be hit. If you watch his movies, like all of his bullshit direct-to-video movies, like from probably about like a few years after Under Siege 2, it's like the ones where they're really low budget, probably from about the 2010s, maybe 2015 onward. It's actually, no, like probably like 2007. Actually, roughly around 2006, 2007. All of his like bullshit straight to video, he never gets hit. For him to get hit is like a holy shit fucking moment. But when he fights in his movies, he never takes a hit. He's always the best. He never gets hit. He never fucking loses. The only two that I can think of where he actually got hit was one movie where he fought JSP. That one he actually got Superman punched by JSP, but he still kicked JSP's ass. And then the China Salesman movie where he fought Mike Tyson, and Mike Tyson actually knocked him the fuck out. Although I suspect, there's a suspicion that Seagal did that fight scene with Tyson, and they filmed it with him coming to a draw, and then when Seagal left set and left for the day, they brought in a stunt double, and Tyson knocked him the fuck out to finish off the scene. That is the general suspicion. But otherwise, Seagal will not even be fucking touched in all of his movies. He never loses a fight. He's basically like Vin Diesel in this and The Rock in this regard. He never loses a fight, but he never even fucking gets hit. So it does not surprise me that he would go to SNL and say, I'm not the butt of any jokes. You will not make me the butt of any jokes.
It got so bad that producers actually considered firing him during the week. They were ready to air the show without a host at all. Lorne Michaels, who's seen every kind of ego come through that building, didn't hold back. He later said Seagal was the biggest jerk to ever host the show. And that's coming from the guy who's had to deal with Chevy Chase.
Wow.
Michael Jai White had a front row seat to the Steven Segal experience. And for him, the whole thing was less legendary action hero and more like a guy walking around thinking he's a martial arts god while everyone else quietly rolls their eyes. According to White, Seagal took himself so seriously it actually became funny. In his words, Seagal could have been one of the funniest action comedy guys on the planet if he didn't take himself so serious. But what really rubbed White the wrong way was how Seagal treated the stunt crew. He said Seagal had a habit of hitting the shit out of his stuntmen and that a lot of them just put up with it because they didn't want to lose their jobs. And White wasn't having it. He said no one has the right to act like that, especially not someone who's not superior to people who can do what you do.
Yeah, like, okay, let us compare. Let's compare. You have Steven Seagal that treats his stunt people like shit and like beats the crap out of his stunt people because he thinks he's a Billy Badass. And yes, Michael Jai White is a legit badass martial artist. Yes, he is. But let's compare what Steven Seagal does to what Keanu Reeves does. Because Keanu Reeves is an action star. How does Keanu Reeves treat his stunt people? He buys them all fucking Harleys. Remember that for John Wick? For the first John Wick, at the conclusion of filming, he bought every single one of his stunt people a brand new fucking Harley. Did he buy him Rolexes too? That I didn't know. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, and huge fucking difference. Huge. Yeah, does it surprise me that Seagal's a piece of shit to his stunt people? No, he's a piece of shit to everybody.
Liam Neeson's never worked with Seagal.
No, Mose, I know what you're talking about. You're thinking Tom Cruise. That's Tom Cruise that does birthday cakes for life. If you ever worked with Tom Cruise, you literally will get a birthday cake on your birthday for the rest of your life. That is Tom Cruise that you're thinking of that does that. And apparently, like Tom Hanks actually, on some talk show, Tom Hanks actually came out with the birthday cake that Tom Cruise sent him to show that this is the cake that Tom Cruise sent me for my birthday. Yeah, like, it doesn't matter what job you're doing. If you work with Tom Cruise on a movie, you get a birthday cake once a year on your birthday for the rest of your life.
Liam Neeson's never worked with Seagal, and after this, probably never will. A few years back, Neeson was out promoting one of the Taken sequels when Seagal decided to throw some shade.
What?
He said Neeson was lucky to be getting work in action movies, even though, according to Seagal, he had no business being in the genre at all.
Okay, dude? You are the last one to be throwing shade about working in action movies while you are sitting here fatly. Look at him. He is fat sitting right now. He's got his shoulder cocked to the side. He's got his head resting on the raised shoulder because he's so fucking fat he can't hold it up. His cheeks are puffed out because they're missing the donuts. You are the last fucking person to say you shouldn't be working in action movies. By guy.
Said he wasn't a real fighter, wasn't an action guy, wasn't a warrior, just a dramatic actor getting by with the help of special effects and big budgets. He can't fight. He's not an action movie guy at all, and he's getting action movies now, so that should tell you something. He's a great dramatic actor. Is he an action guy? No. Is he a great fighter? A great warrior? No. Let's be honest.
I have 2 words for you, fat fuck. Rob Roy. 2 more words for you, fuckstick. Star Wars. Liam Neeson literally learned how to sword fight for Rob Roy and for Star Wars. He is a legit fucking swordsman. He actually knows how to sword fight. You pretend to throw people around while they throw themselves around. You want to try again about being a great warrior, fucknuts?
Honest. Neeson didn't fire back with a rant. He just said, "I know how to punch," which, let's face it, is the most Irish possible response.
Yeah.
But he couldn't.
Of course, leave us not forget, he's fucking Irish. Okay, this man grew up growling in bars, for God's sake. What? No, Sketty, Liam Neeson was in Highlander. That was not Liam Neeson. That was Sean Connery. And Sean Connery is Scottish, not Irish. You're thinking of the wrong actor, my guy. Yeah, Highlander was Sean Connery and Christopher Lambert, who is French. So, no, Liam Neeson was most certainly not in Highlander.
How to punch, which, let's face it, is the most Irish possible response. But he couldn't resist throwing in a little jab of his own. On Jimmy Kimmel, Neeson said, "I want to know who dyes his hair. Stevie Wonder?" That's one way to end the conversation.
Yes. Well, and who injected the plugs? Because leave us not forget, Steven Seagal already had a seriously fucking receding hairline back in Above the Law, his first movie. Like, half of his fucking head was visible with that hairline. Yet now he somehow has an epic widow's peak. How's that work, dude? How does that work? Explain it to me. And Eric, they've been talking about a new Highlander reboot in the works with various people for years. I have little hope that there. Number one, I don't want there to be a Highlander reboot. Let me preface this. I do not want there to be a Highlander reboot. Number two, I don't think that they're going to get it with Henry Cavill. And what are you talking about, Hunt for Red October, Bobcat? Are you deliberately gaslighting me right now? Bobcat, you're gaslighting me, aren't you? Aren't you? Yeah? Yeah, that's the problem. Hollywood will not let Cavill do any franchise that he loves properly. Eh. Yeah, it's like at this point, if you hear a movie is going to be rebooted, fucking run. Okay? It's if Hollywood attempts to reboot anything nowadays, turn around and go the opposite direction. Every fucking time.
Jenny McCarthy had what might be one of the most infamous audition stories in Seagal's long, weird history.
What?
Back in 1995, she was up for a role in Under Siege 2, and the audition ended up being just her and Seagal alone in a room.
Wait.
He asked her to sit next to.
Wait. Whoa, hold the fuck up. See the fuck up. I'm gonna let this play through, but I think this is incorrect. I think this is incorrect. I'm gonna let it play through.
Audition ended up being just her and Seagal alone in a room. He asked her to sit next to him by the fireplace. Then he said, "This part has nudity in it, and I can't really tell what your body looks like in that dress you're wearing." McCarthy told him she'd been explicitly told the role didn't involve nudity. And Seagal replied, well, there is off-camera nudity. That was it. She got up to leave. And before she could walk out, Seagal followed her and threatened her with, don't tell anybody, or else. McCarthy wasn't having it. She told him to go buy her Playboy video and walked out.
That wasn't Jenny McCarthy. It wasn't Jenny McCarthy that happened to on Under Siege. That was Pam Anderson. No. Jenny McCarthy was never up. I don't think Jenny McCarthy was even up for the role in Under Siege. It was Pam Anderson that was up for this role, that he did this to. And then Pam Anderson walked, so they got her Baywatch co-star, Erika Eleniak. It was not Jenny McCarthy, I don't think. That's, at least I don't think so, because the story I heard was that Pam Anderson was really originally going to be doing the role that Erika Eleniak did. And because Steven Segal was an absolute fucking creep to her in that story, she left and they got Erika in instead. Unless Jenny McCarthy also had the issue, but I don't remember it from... Yeah, exactly. That's what... Wait, was this Under Siege 2 they were talking about? Am I getting my Under Sieges wrong?
She was up for a role in Under Siege 2, and the...
Oh! Okay, it was for Under Siege 2. Okay, I'm way the fuck off then. I'm way the fuck off. My bad. Not bad. I do not know why, but I just heard the Under Siege and my brain like switched off for a moment when they said 2. Never mind. Never mind. Although I wonder what role she was up for. Wait, was she up for the... Oh, God. Was she up for the role that, what's her name got? That was his niece? Fuck, who played his niece in the movie? Oh, fuck, I can't remember her name. Katherine Heigl. Katherine Heigl. Was she up for Katherine Heigl's role? Is that what she was there for? Because this would have been back in what? 2005? I mean, she would have been, I guess, the proper age for that, for the character. Well, Terrarian, off-screen nudity was his incredibly stupid way of trying to say, I'm going to be fucking you off-screen. That was his way of saying, you're going to fuck me without outright saying it. So she couldn't say he demanded that I sleep with him in order to get the role. That's what it was. Holy
really tell what your
fuck.
Seagal followed her, wasn't happy.
Yeah, and that's it. There was nothing after that. Holy shit. Yeah, I mean, chat, was there any doubt that Seagal is one of the biggest pieces of shit in Hollywood? Is it any wonder he fucked off to Russia to go hide? Because he can't, he's too fucking fat to make a movie anymore, and nobody wants to fucking work with him. Revan, he kind of didn't. After he did Under Siege 2, and after he did there was a couple of movies, like fairly big movies after a couple after Under Siege 2. Once those were done, he was all straight to video. Like all of his movies, probably from the late aughts onward, were all straight to video. I think a lot of them came out of his production company. He was executive producer for the majority of them. And there's a current running theory that Seagal movies are a money laundering scam. That Like his movies running from about 2007 on are actually a money laundering scam. That is the current theory when it comes to the Seagal's films.